All right, welcome back. Today we turn our attention to the heart of the national conversation around faith, justice, and power. Nigeria stands as a crossroads, and questions about religious tolerance, political fairness, and the very structure of our own union have been more urgent a question. It's never been more urgent a question than it is now. From claims of targeted violence to controversial presidential pardons, the search for peace and good leadership continues. Joining me now is Reverend Joseph Hayab, chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria in the 19 northern states and the FCT. He's a peace advocate and country director of the Global Peace Foundation. Sir, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, and good afternoon, Nigerians.
You know, it's funny sometimes. We just need to laugh at some of the problems, right? Because I saw you chuckle when I was talking about some of the issues at hand. Let me start this way. Let's start this conversation this way. Is Nigeria's problem a religion, or is Nigeria's biggest problem religion?
Thank you very much once again. Let's put it this way. Nigeria's problems are multifaceted, but if you are looking at the big problem in Nigeria, honestly, to me, we have two big problems. One, bad leadership. Two, ignorance. There are so many ignorant people in Nigeria that can jump into conclusions about everything without asking questions, without even knowing the details. This set of ignorant people can also be used by any selfish person to magnify a very simple matter into a big matter. Unfortunately, in the leadership Nigerians have gotten in the last 65 years, a large part of it has not been leadership has been decisive. This is what the law says, this is what our constitution says, this is how we should govern. Let's do it, but we're trying to be careful. We want to please some people. We don't want someone to be hurt. And then because we have that vacuum, people take the laws into their hands, cause fellow citizens pains, bring about mayhem, and nobody seems to be doing enough to checkmate them and show them that we have a government, we have a law. So we just get ourselves into this. The large chunk of the masses are ignorant of so many things, and a section of the country seems to have a lot of ignorant things going on, and government is not doing what she's supposed to do. So everybody just take advantage of some of those gaps and cause people pain, and nobody is doing anything, or what is being done is not good enough to show people that, look, your right stops when the right of the fellow or the other person starts. So people just keep abusing the rights of fellow citizens. Just ask questions. You have some groups, okay, enough is enough of this. We are going to take the laws into our hands, or we want to help ourselves since help is not coming. And when we keep allowing people to help themselves, lowliness come in. But I believe that if we can address these two things, our problems will be solved in a twinkle of an eye. Is there love in this country? This is a country where people love one another sincerely, if you want to talk about that. But because so many ignorant people are in the field, their voices are there more than the voices of those who actually reason. Actions are the ones people see, not the actions of the ones who reason. And leadership seems not to be saying, look, ignorance is not an excuse. Or fight against that ignorance, correct it with education, correct it with certain services that government seems supposed to be providing. Then they keep feeling that, oh, we are on top of the world. Nobody is asking a question.
All right.
No, people certain question, let them know that there's a law in this country.
All right, now let's get into this conversation proper, because we're starting from the point where that's narrative about Christians being, haunted, Christians being the ones being, targeted. It's still lingering everywhere. I mean, it's almost like the more we keep trying to quash it, the more we keep trying to speak about it, to make sure that those fears are doused, it seems like it's not going anywhere. And besides you being an advocate for peace, you are a reverend. Now the question, in all honesty, that growing claim about Christians being targeted, what is your real, just, true assessment of the situation?
If you move out of your comfort zone and you enter into communities, what you see is innocent Nigerians struggling to survive, struggling to grow, struggling to feed, struggling to take care of their children. But as you sit among those innocent Nigeria who are struggling to survive, struggling to feed their children, struggling to grow, you see some Nigerians who now abuse them or abuse their rights. And when such right is being abused, it brings about anger. It provokes reaction. If you ask me as a pastor and as a Christian, and as someone who has been in the field working, is there persecution on Christians? I would not be honest to you to say there is none. If I'm going to be honest with you, I will tell you there is an ongoing Christian persecution. There has always been an ongoing Christian persecution, especially from the north. With certain activities or attitude or certain actions, you can't say it does not exist. The only thing is that when we go further in the conversation, I can tell you where there is shift, where there is understanding. I'll give you an example. I come from Kaduna State. 6 years ago or 8 years ago, virtually every week, either a large number of Christian population in Kaduna were either killed or kidnapped. Someone would tell me, but Pastor, these killings and kidnapping was not just exclusively to Christian. And I can tell him, brother, when it comes to Christian victims, it was something else. It was something else. I know, and for people who do not know, I actually was part of those who did the mass burial of the Sharia crisis of 2000, so I know what my eyes saw. I was also privileged to be among the clergy that did the mass burial for 2002. That's the Miss World Beauty pageant. So I know what my eyes saw. But because we have grown past that now, but we wouldn't say that things like that never exist. And then you can continue all the other killings, all the other activities. And what was the reason for the killing? From development practitioners, what we simply say, it is a farmers-herders conflict. And I've argued it severally and say the reason why peace advocates have not been able to solve that problem is because we are giving a sickness a wrong name. And so the medication that is being applied is a wrong medication. You see, when you say it is a farmers-herders conflict, I will quickly remind you that where is the farm? Where are the herders or the farmers when innocent women are sleeping in their rooms and someone comes in chanting a religious slogan, cut off their head, chop off the heads of their children, because when you see the killing, you know, children are not being spared, women are not being spared, men are not being spared, and the person will go further to even burn their religious place. When you still want to call that farmers herders, no wonder development workers have been collecting huge money for years and write good reports, but attitudes have not changed, because that's not the problem.
So what is the problem?
The problem is some elements, either terrorists, either bandits, either fanatics, or whatever you call them, in their own worldview, and that's why I talk about ignorance, feel certain people supposed not to belong. And if you begin to attack people because of their identity and you don't want them to belong, what do you call that? It's persecution. Has it reached the stage of genocide? This is where I always don't want to join people in that argument, because when you call something genocidal, you have to define it to fit in, one, the definition of genocide, and to also fit in what the United Nations or the ICC could consider to be genocide. But there is killing. For me, if you kill 10 people, it's painful. If you kill 20 people, it's painful. If you kill 200 people, it's painful. Unfortunately for us, when we're trying to manage this, because we keep denying the facts, then somebody helped us to put on an outrageous figure. And now we are struggling to correct his figure. Because sadly, because we really not first agree that certain things were wrong and supposed not to be, then someone just throw up a figure and say 500,000 Christians have been killed. Or 100,000 Christians have been killed. And I say, wait a minute, I've been in this for a long time. That number is outrageous. But is there killing? Yes. It is the outrageous number that becomes a confession. So all we needed to do is to admit that something has been going on wrong, not good for our country, not good for our togetherness, not good for our unity. See, I have said this in many fora, and I want to repeat it in your platform, that in some part of northern Nigeria, and I can mention states, Katsina State, Kano State is one of them, a Christian cannot buy land and build a church. He will be told, they will write it down. We can push out the document. They will say, this must not be for a church or beer parlor. And you just ask yourself, so you have nothing to even equate my faith with. You equate it with beer parlor. That's really painful. The killings may not be as painful as some of this because it is just making you look, finish you have nothing to show you exist. Admission, quota that we're supposed to enjoy. You have 265, you're still not given admission to certain courses. And your crime is not because you're not qualified. Your crime simply is you bear Joseph, you bear John, you bear Peter. We've challenged that severally. In many of these states today, as much as teachers have been engaged to teach religious study, but Christian religious study, not here. Someone will even tell you that Christian CRK, not in our state. When you have a country where people abuse procedure, abuse their constitution, where the constitution gives everybody the freedom to practice his religion. And we're not just talking about teaching religion, we're thinking of the morals. Show me a good neighbor who only thinks his child should be responsible and my child should be a bad child. I think something is wrong. So those are the things that accumulate into this issue that today we are debating whether it's genocide. I'm not talking about genocide. I'm talking about persecution exists. People are not being treated right. If we establish that, then we start. We are lucky that at least in the past 2 years, there is some shift. I can say this authoritatively because at least from 2023 May to today, killings are going on. No one can doubt it. But at least for Kaduna, it's a different story. For some other part, at least when I reach out to many of the country chairmen of our states in the north, they say, yes, truly, sir, in the last 6 months, probably 8, sometimes even 1 year, we've not had what we used to have before. So there is a shift. There is a progress. But first acknowledge the problem so that you can find solution and then celebrate the shift, celebrate the success that's been recorded and see how do you sustain it so that we don't go back to the past again.
Reverend, I'm going to hold you there quickly. While we were speaking, we were joined by Barrister Ezeala Chukwuma, and he's a lawyer, government expert, and civil society leader. Barrister, you're going to be speaking when we come back right from this break. We're going to be watching this very short break, and when we come back from this break, we come back into the governance aspect of this very important conversation. Please don't go away. It promises to be highly engaging from here on. Go ahead.